Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're plunging into some rather, well, direct territory. We've got excerpts from The Happy Hooker's Guide to Sex, 69 Orgasmic Ways to Pleasure a Woman.
Right.
Now, we know the title might raise an eyebrow or two, but our aim here isn't really to dwell on the sensational.
Not at all.
Instead, we're kind of on a mission, to extract some genuinely insightful nuggets about achieving great sex. Things like focusing on a partner satisfaction, communication, embracing complexity.
Exactly. It's about finding the useful bits without getting overwhelmed.
Think of it as a shortcut to some surprisingly nuanced perspectives on pleasure and connection.
Yeah, because while the source is certainly, let's say, forthright,
Yes.
at its core, it actually offers a range of advice, some practical tips, some broader ideas about relationships, intimacy. Our goal today is just to navigate through this material, highlight the actionable stuff, the thought-provoking quotes, things that can help, gain a deeper understanding of what makes for fulfilling sex.
Right.
We're not getting bogged down in every single detail.
Just focusing on what truly stands out. Okay, let's unpack this. So a fundamental idea that jumps out right away is it's the sheer emphasis on prioritizing your partner's satisfaction.
Huge theme. Yeah.
The text makes it really clear. If you want consistently great sex, that has to be your primary focus. It even talks about the goal being to create an unforgettable memory for her.
Something lasting.
Something that sticks with her for years. So the key insight here for you listening is maybe that shifting your focus outward, it can paradoxically lead to greater personal fulfillment.
You've absolutely hit on a key point there. By centering the experience around the partner's satisfaction, the idea is that, well, both individuals ultimately benefit.
Right.
That leads to that unforgettable experience. It's definitely a shift in mindset for some people, perhaps.
Absolutely. And speaking of mindset, the excerpts also suggest that men, generally speaking, might need to move beyond a, let's say, simpler approach to sex.
Less one-dimensional.
There's this great quote from a Mr. Sherwood: "Women are seeking the perfect combination of gentleman and arse."
Yeah, that's a memorable one.
What's the core insight for us in that seemingly blunt statement?
Well, what's fascinating here is how directly it highlights the multifaceted nature of desire. It's not just about one extreme or the other. The advice to get in touch with both the warrior and the wimp, the good guy and bad guy within.
Right.
It speaks to this idea that women appreciate a partner who can embody a range of qualities, different approaches. It suggests a dynamic interplay rather than like a flat performance.
Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting. The deep dive into communication, its importance.
Crucial.
There's a quote from Madame Solange, who apparently had quite the romantic history.
So the story goes.
She says, "Women can be ruined by lovers, but mere acts of libertinism are quickly forgotten." It really makes you think about the lasting impact of connection, doesn't it? Or the lack of it.
It really does.
What's the underlying message for us there?
Well, this raises an important question about the meaning of intercourse itself.
Yeah.
The text points out that the word also means communication.
Ah, okay. Interesting.
So if that verbal and emotional connection isn't there, the potential for truly mind-blowing sex is going to be limited. Simple as that.
So better talk leads to better sex.
That seems to be the direct link they're making.
Yeah.
Think of it this way. Open dialogue becomes like a crucial ingredient for lasting intimacy.
And it goes even further, linking quality conversation directly to stimulating what's called the brain clit.
Right, the brain clit.
It's this idea that mental engagement, understanding, they're key components of arousal and satisfaction for many women. Plus, it's framed as the fastest way to learn what your partner actually needs and desires. What are the practical implications of this brain clit concept for our listeners?
Well, precisely. How can you truly please someone if you don't know what they like?
Yeah, makes sense.
Open communication just bypasses all the guesswork. It allows for a deeper understanding of individual preferences.
So the brain clit concept?
It just underscores that sex isn't only a physical act. It's deeply intertwined with emotional, intellectual connection.
Okay.
It suggests that engaging your partner's mind can be just as arousing, maybe even more so sometimes, than physical touch.
Speaking of desires, the excerpts also touch on exploring fantasies. There's a powerful quote from Erica Jong about the raging hunger in my cunt and the hunger in my head.
Wow, yeah.
Very direct. It really highlights that connection between physical and mental desire. What's the key takeaway for us when considering our own fantasies and our partners?
What's fascinating here is the encouragement to openly discuss these inner worlds. Don't keep them locked up.
Right.
The text even suggests using playful tactics sometimes to get the conversation started, but it emphasizes the ultimate goal is pleasing your partner.
So creating that safe space. Exactly. Creating a safe space where she feels comfortable sharing her secrets is presented as absolutely crucial for unlocking greater sexual freedom.
Gotcha.
The insight for you, the listener, is that vulnerability and, shared fantasy can be a really powerful aphrodisiac.
Now, let's pivot slightly to some of the don'ts in the book. There's a strong emphasis on avoiding negativity, the no complaints rule.
Yes, the rules.
The idea is that complaining is basically whining, right? And that's a major turnout for most people.
Yeah, generally not attractive.
Chronic unhappiness is presented as a significant deterrent in relationships and even on first dates. What's the broader principle at play here, do you think?
Well, this aligns pretty clearly with the general principle of creating a positive, enjoyable atmosphere, especially in intimate settings, but frankly in relationships overall.
True.
Negativity can be a real mood killer. It definitely detracts from the focus on pleasure and connection. It just sets a tone that's counterproductive to a good sexual experience and honestly a healthy partnership. And right along those lines is the no worries rule.
Another big one.
Worrying apparently has absolutely no place in sex. It compares sex to play for adults, and when children play, they forget everything else.
Lose themselves in it.
The advice is to literally leave your worries on the doorstep before getting intimate, especially anxieties about performance or body image. What's the core message for us regarding anxiety and intimacy?
This is crucial, I think, especially considering that Robert Sherwood quote, "Man exists in one of two states, getting his dick touched and waiting to get his dick touched."
All right.
It humorously acknowledges the central role of sex in many men's minds, but it also subtly points to the potential for anxiety around it, doesn't it?
Definitely.
The text recognizes that the penis is controlled by the brain,
Yeah.
and that worry is pretty much the surest way to stay soft. So the underlying insight is that a relaxed mind often leads to a more responsive body. Let go of the worry.
There's even this anecdote about a man who would, well, it says he'd smack his cock and tell it off to get it erect.
Wow. Okay. That's vivid.
It just goes to show the psychological element at play, though. What does this unusual story tell us about the mental side of sex?
Exactly. It highlights the sometimes, let's say, neurotic nature of the male sexual response and the various, sometimes pretty unorthodox ways men have tried to overcome performance anxiety over the years.
Yeah.
The key takeaway is really just try and quiet those internal worries.
Yeah.
Approach sex with a more playful, less pressured mindset if you can.
Moving on, the book also touches on the importance of learning to love your body. There's a quote from Jerry Seinfeld that's quite telling.
Oh, yeah.
He says, "There is very little advice in men's magazines because men think, I know what I'm doing, just show me somebody naked."
Huh. Yeah, that sounds about right for some magazines. What's the potential pitfall of that kind of thinking, according to the book?
Well, this quote cleverly highlights a potential blind spot, right? The text then goes on to observe how confidence is incredibly attractive, regardless of outward appearance. A man who feels attractive emits a kind of karmic aphrodisiac.
Ooh, I like that. Karmic aphrodisiac.
And the same applies to women, it suggests. It's about self-acceptance and projecting that confidence.
So the insight here is basically that self-love, or at least self-acceptance, can be a really powerful form of attraction in itself.
Exactly. And that confidence, it seems, translates into being more present and attentive during sex.
Ah, okay. Connects back.
The excerpts critique partners who aren't looking at faces during intimacy. The point is that good lovers pay close attention to every reaction, facial expressions, body language, sounds.
Right. Reading the room, so to speak.
And adjust accordingly in their mission to please. What's the actionable advice for our listeners in this observation?
This really underscores the importance of being fully engaged in the moment, attuned to your partner's experience. It's not a mechanical act, right? It's a dynamic interaction. It requires observation, responsiveness. As Barbara Carrellas puts it, and she's quoted to Moz, the intention isn't to leave the body, but to drop into it more deeply and completely.
Drop into the body.
So the practical takeaway is truly see and respond to your partner. Pay attention.
And a key part of dropping in, it seems, is learning to play. Playfulness is presented as an absolute requirement for great sex.
Yeah, fun is important.
There's this fun anecdote about a couple pretending to be a young Victorian couple eloping.
Yeah.
It really highlights the power of imagination and shared fantasy. What's the core benefit of bringing playfulness into the bedroom?
Well, this element of playfulness just injects fun and novelty into the sexual experience, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Helps break down inhibitions, allows for exploration, experimentation, all in a kind of low-pressure environment. It's about not taking things too seriously, embracing a sense of lightheartedness. That can open up whole new avenues of pleasure.
Now, a more nuanced point is around creating safety.
Very important.
The book acknowledges that there's no universal definition of safe for everyone. It emphasizes that it's your job, really, to get to know your partner and understand what makes them feel safe, both emotionally and physically.
It's specific to the person.
Why is this individualized approach to safety so crucial in intimacy?
That's a critical point.
Yeah.
Safety isn't just about the absence of harm, is it?
No.
It's about creating an environment of trust, of comfort, where vulnerability and open expression are actually possible. The quote about emotion being the messenger of love,
Yeah, I saw that.
it highlights the importance of emotional connection in fostering that sense of safety. So for you, the listener, the key is to actively learn what safe means for your specific partner. Ask, listen.
Okay, this leads to the distinction the book makes between the heart clit and the brain clit.
Right, interesting terms.
Traditional romantic gestures are described as heart clit stimulation, the things that make her heart smile, basically.
Okay, the emotional connection.
But it's the brain clit teasing, that mental and intellectual engagement that often leads to arousal. How can we practically engage both the heart clit and the brain clit in our relationships?
Well, this is a helpful framework, I think, for understanding the different facets of attraction and desire. Both emotional connection, heart clit, and mental stimulation, brain clit, play vital roles in a fulfilling sexual relationship. It's about nurturing both aspects, maybe through romantic gestures and engaging conversation, not just one or the other.
Even something as seemingly simple as underwear gets a mention.
Oh, underwear, okay.
Yeah. The idea is that if you're focused on pleasing your partner in other ways, they'll be more willing, maybe, to wear what you like.
Ah, reciprocity.
There's even advice to learn her underwear preferences and maybe even adopt them yourself sometimes. What's the underlying principle about attention to detail here?
Well, this highlights the idea of reciprocity, like you said, and attentiveness to even seemingly small details.
Right.
It's about showing your partner that you're paying attention to their likes and dislikes.
Yeah.
That can contribute to a greater sense of intimacy and connection. It's a subtle way of saying, I see you and I care about what you like, even down to the underwear.
Okay. And when it comes to creating those special moments, the book talks about the illusion of spontaneity.
The illusion.
Apparently, truly great spontaneous feeling moments often require careful planning.
Ah, the swan gliding gracefully while paddling furiously underneath.
Exactly. Women appreciate the effort behind romantic and creative gestures, even if they suspect it was a bit contrived. What's the takeaway about the effort we put into romance?
This speaks to the idea that it truly is the thought that counts, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Putting in the effort to create a special experience shows your partner that you value them, that you're invested in the relationship.
Yeah.
The spontaneity then becomes this delightful surprise built upon that foundation of care and planning.
We also get a quick rundown of aphrodisiacs and the senses, from foods like oranges and strawberries
The usual suspect.
to the surprising suggestion that sweat can be an aphrodisiac due to pheromones.
Oh, interesting. Pheromones.
There's even a historical tidbit about women using love fruit apple slices in their armpits.
Huh. Okay, that's a new one on me. Love fruit.
What's the broader point about the senses and attraction here?
Well, this delves into the fascinating interplay between our senses and arousal, right? While the scientific evidence for some food-based aphrodisiacs might be, shall we say, limited,
Yeah.
the power of suggestion and just the sensual experience itself can certainly enhance intimacy. Food, smell, touch.
Right.
And the mention of pheromones in historical practices just underscores the often unconscious ways our bodies communicate attraction.
Yeah.
It reminds us that arousal can be triggered in unexpected ways.
Oh.
By sweat, apparently.
Now let's touch on something that might be a bit unexpected. The nuances of masturbation.
Okay.
The book challenges the sort of blanket statement that masturbation is always okay. It suggests it can be a negative alternative to connection in a good relationship,
Like an avoidance tactic.
but maybe a positive coping mechanism in an unsatisfying one.
Right.
What's a key distinction we should consider about the role of masturbation in our lives based on this?
This offers a more complex perspective on a topic that's often simplified, doesn't it? It acknowledges that the context matters, the motivation behind it, Is it a way to avoid intimacy, or is it a healthy outlet when connection is genuinely lacking? It's a valuable distinction to maybe consider in your own relationship dynamics.
There's also this rather unique story about a man using photos of his sleeping wife for masturbation,
Whoa, okay.
and her unexpected reaction when she found out. Apparently, she wasn't upset.
Really? That's surprising.
It really highlights the complexities of individual desires and boundaries, though. What's the core lesson about boundaries that this story underscores, even with its unusual outcome?
Indeed. It just underscores that what one person might find arousing or even acceptable, another might perceive as a major violation of privacy or trust.
Right. Huge potential for miscalculation.
Absolutely. Open communication about these really sensitive areas is paramount. It's a stark reminder that assumptions about desire can be very, very risky.
And here's a clever tip from the book. The idea of using clues from conversation to surprise and delight your partner.
Paying attention again.
There's an anecdote about a woman mentioning she dislikes crayfish and her partner later playfully ordering it for her at a restaurant just as a joke.
Okay. How did that go down?
Apparently, the humor and the fact that he was actually listening were a triple hitter in the clit department, as the book puts it.
Okay, so listening pays off.
What's the key insight about the power of attentive listening here?
Well, it just highlights the power of active listening, doesn't it? And using those little details to create personalized, memorable moments.
Yeah.
It shows attentiveness, it shows a sense of humor, both of which can be incredibly attractive. It demonstrates that you're truly paying attention to your partner as an individual, not just, going through the motions.
Okay, moving into the Casanova's do's and don'ts section, a big don't is expecting her to coach you through sex.
Right. No step-by-step instructions wanted.
The feeling is that women often want you to take the clues, the signals they're giving, and come up with something special yourself, rather than having to orchestrate the whole thing.
They want a partner, not a student they have to teach in the moment.
What's the underlying desire being expressed here, do you think?
I think it speaks to the desire for a partner who is intuitive, proactive.
Yeah.
It's about demonstrating that you're paying attention, that you're invested in understanding and fulfilling her desires without needing explicit, constant instructions. It's about showing initiative and confidence, maybe.
But it also touches on the power of that confidence, taking the lead. There's a quote about women being fascinated by the caveman and his club, even though they might playfully resist.
The primal appeal.
It's the idea of a man being direct and clear in his desires. How do we balance the sort of caveman energy with sensitivity and respect? That seems key.
Absolute key. This acknowledges a certain, maybe primal aspect of attraction, the desire for a partner who is confident, assertive.
Right.
However, it's absolutely crucial to balance this with respect and sensitivity, as we talked about earlier with the heart clit needing safety.
Yep.
It's about taking the lead in a way that feels empowering for her, not dominating or dismissive. The key is reading your partner's cues constantly.
And to set the scene for that confidence, the book emphasizes using your imagination.
Setting the stage.
Establish the place, the time, the theme. Even something as simple as dressing up for a date should feel special, intentional. There's also the advice to build anticipation by teasing your lover with suggestive messages during the day, little texts, emails.
The slow burn.
What's the overall impact of incorporating imagination into our romantic lives?
These are all ways to heighten the sense of excitement.
Yeah, right.
Anticipation surrounding intimacy. By engaging the imagination, creating a sense of occasion, you're making the experience more than just a routine act.
Yeah.
It adds this layer of mental engagement, that brain clip, again, that can significantly enhance the physical pleasure later on.
Now, a really important don't: avoid making assumptions about a partner's desires based on media, movies, books.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Very important.
There's a cautionary tale about a boyfriend completely misinterpreting a film his girlfriend liked. I think it was The Cook, The Thief, His Wife and Her Lover.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's intense.
And he attempted to emulate the negative, abusive aspects of the relationship in the film, thinking that's what turned her on. Disastrous results, obviously.
Yikes. Yeah, that's a terrible misreading.
What's the fundamental lesson about individual desires here?
This is just a critical reminder that everyone's tastes, desires, boundaries are completely individual.
Right.
What might be arousing or appealing in fiction, or even just interesting in fiction, can be deeply upsetting or unwanted in reality.
Totally.
Open communication is the only way to truly understand your partner's actual desires.
Yeah.
Media can be maybe a starting point for conversation, but never ever a substitute for it.
Okay. We then get into some more specific tips, like shaving together.
Shaving together
Yeah.
as foreplay.
Yeah, presented as a potentially fun and intimate activity. There's even advice on the right tools. Apparently, Schick's intuition razor is recommended. How can turning a mundane task like shaving into a shared experience enhance intimacy?
Well, I suppose it turns a routine task into an opportunity for connection, maybe playfulness,
Yeah.
the shared vulnerability, the focus on each other's bodies. That could be quite intimate. It's about finding those small moments of connection in everyday life, maybe.
And then there's the rather insistent advice to do insist she sleeps naked.
Insist. Okay, that sounds strong.
Yeah, the rationale ranges from the author's personal preference for easy access to the idea that women enjoy the harmless tug of war over the covers and that it appeals to the brain clit, potentially leading to steamy sex.
That sounds potentially problematic.
What's the underlying idea about playfulness and desire at work here, do you think? And what's the key consideration we need to add?
Well, this is definitely a more provocative suggestion, isn't it? And
Yeah.
it's really important to know that comfort levels around nudity vary hugely. While the intention in the book might be framed as playful, it's absolutely crucial to ensure that both partners are genuinely comfortable with this, that it doesn't cross any personal boundaries. The idea might be to introduce playful tension, but always with respect for consent and comfort. Insist is probably not the right word for most couples.
Good point. Following that is the enthusiastic do engage her in dress-up play.
Role-playing costumes.
Okay.
There's an anecdote about G. Gordon Liddy. Yes, that G. Gordon Liddy attributing his long marriage to an active fantasy life.
Wow. Okay, didn't see that coming.
The advice is to overcome any fear of being seen as objectifying and maybe even buy the clothes you want to see her in, but with the understanding of reciprocation, mutual enjoyment.
Right. So it's shared fun. What's the benefit of incorporating role play and shared fantasy into a relationship, according to this?
Well, this encourages a sense of fun, experimentation within the relationship.
Yeah.
Embracing role play can be a powerful way to explore different facets of desire, break out of routine. The key, again, is mutual enjoyment, respect for each other's comfort levels. It allows you to explore different aspects of your personalities, your desires, in a safe context.
And to really pull off that dress-up play, the book advises to learn to be an actor.
Get into character.
Yeah, putting on the costume isn't enough. You have to be willing to let go, put on a little performance. There's a story about a couple role-playing as strangers in a hotel bar, which apparently took a rather dangerous turn when real danger intruded.
How so? Did it backfire?
Yeah, the fantasy got a bit too real and scary for one of them. What's the core message about commitment and boundaries in role play from this?
Well, it highlights the importance of commitment to the role play for it to be truly immersive, enjoyable. However, that anecdote serves as a really important cautionary tale about ensuring that any dangerous or edgy elements are purely consensual fantasy. They shouldn't actually put anyone at real risk or cause genuine fear. The fun should always remain within agreed-upon limits. Safety first, even in play.
In a somewhat surprising turn, there's a section titled, Do Give Her the Chance to Cheat.
Whoa. Okay, explain that one.
The observation in the book is that discreet affairs sometimes have a carryover effect of mind-blowing sex with the partner back at home.
Risky territory.
It also notes the increasing propensity, apparently, of older women to cheat and mentions the MILF phenomenon. What's the perspective being offered here on desire and long-term relationship? It feels controversial.
Yeah, this is definitely a complex and potentially controversial topic. The text presents it as an observation of certain dynamics it claims exist,
Okay.
particularly as women age and maybe their priorities or confidence shift. It suggests opportunity, a desire for new experiences can play a role. However, it's crucial to emphasize this is just one rather provocative perspective reported in the book. Infidelity obviously has significant emotional implications for everyone involved.
Right. And just for clarity, the book defines MILF later as the acronym Mother I'd Like to F.
Right. So, yeah, referring to an attractive older woman, often a mother, seen as sexually desirable. It's a term with its own baggage, of course.
Then we get the somewhat enigmatic, do think like a lesbian.
Okay. How is that meant?
The advice is that when you're in bed with your woman, try to adopt a more leisurely, less urgent approach to sex. Similar, it says, to the stereotype of how two women might be together, more focus on sensuality, less on just the goal.
Ah, okay. So it's about the pacing and focus.
What's the core idea behind this shift in approach?
This encourages a shift away from maybe a purely goal-oriented approach to sex
Right, like just aiming for orgasm.
and towards a more sensual, exploratory experience. It's about savoring the intimacy, focusing on pleasure all along the way, rather than rushing towards an endpoint. It's about prioritizing connection and shared sensation, taking your time.
Following that is the assertive, do wake her for sex.
Another potentially tricky one.
With the caveat, again, of choosing your timing carefully, like maybe not right before a big work meeting.
Good caveat.
The justification given is that oversexed people love the human form, and that a second round in the middle of the night can be very erotic for most women.
Most women. That seems like a big generalization.
Yeah. What's the key consideration when thinking about initiating sex when a partner is sleeping?
Well, again, this is a suggestion that requires huge sensitivity and awareness
Yeah.
of your partner's preferences, their sleep habits.
Right.
While some might find it exciting, maybe even romantic in a certain context, others might find it really disruptive or even non-consensual, depending on how it's done. Consent and consideration are absolutely key. The timing, the way you initiate it,
Right.
that can make all the difference between thrilling and really, really not okay.
There's also a warning to don't let your partner be too comfortable.
Okay, how does that work? Sounds counterintuitive.
The idea is that a little bit of healthy awareness, maybe that you're still attractive to others or she is, can be stimulating. Keep things from getting too predictable or taken for granted.
Avoiding complacency.
But crucially, this needs to be balanced with reassuring the heart clit. You don't want to create actual insecurity.
Right, that's a fine line.
What's the delicate balance being discussed here?
Yeah, it touches on that delicate balance between security and excitement in a long-term relationship. Well, a degree of comfort and security is essential, right?
Of course.
A complete lack of maybe awareness of external attraction or just not making an effort anymore can sometimes lead to complacency, taking each other for granted. However, the text rightly cautions against anything that would actually threaten the emotional security of the relationship. It's about a subtle awareness, maybe a little playful competition, not creating genuine insecurity or jealousy. Very tricky.
Some creative and lighthearted activities are suggested next, like sketching her nude.
Okay.
Or using edible body paint, though there's a cautionary tale about accidentally using non-washable paint.
Oops. That could be awkward.
What's the value of incorporating these kinds of playful activities?
Well, these ideas just encourage playfulness, a sense of fun within the intimate sphere, don't they?
Yeah.
The body painting anecdote just serves as a humorous reminder to maybe read the label first. It's about creating shared experiences, memories that go beyond the purely physical act of sex.
Then comes the do get her to masturbate for you rule.
Okay, watching her.
Yeah. It addresses potential male insecurity around this and frames it as a way to shortcut the learning curve to really understand her pleasure directly from the source.
Like a demonstration.
Patience and making the heart clit safe, ensuring she feels comfortable and not just performing are emphasized. What's the core benefit of this kind of open sharing and demonstration?
Well, this suggestion aims to open up communication, provide direct insight into a partner's self-pleasure techniques,
Right.
which can then, theoretically, be incorporated into partnered sex.
Right.
Addressing any potential insecurities on both sides is really important for this to be a positive experience. It's presented as a direct route to understanding what brings her pleasure.
Okay. We then dive into do find her erogenous zones, highlighting often overlooked areas like the ear. It mentions eargasm and the importance of the hands as sexual organs. It also notes the diversity of what different people find appealing could be anything. What's the key message about the landscape of pleasure?
This just reinforces the idea that pleasure isn't confined to the usual obvious zones, right?
Yeah.
Exploring and discovering what specifically excites your partner requires curiosity, attentiveness. It's a reminder that the entire body can potentially be a source of pleasure. Keep exploring.
This leads directly to do discover her sacred pleasure portal, the clitoris.
The main event for many.
It debunks the myth of it being just a simple magic button, explains its anatomy, its sensitivity,
Which is extensive.
emphasizes the need for gentle, personalized touch, and recommends watching her pleasure herself first, if possible, as a learning tool. For our listeners, what are the most crucial things to understand about the clitoris from this?
This is really fundamental advice. The clitoris is an incredibly sensitive organ, thousands of nerve endings, Far more than the penis, actually.
Right.
Understanding that it's not just a single point, but a whole area,
Right.
and that different types of touch, pressure, rhythm work for different women, and even differently for the same woman at different times, that's crucial for female sexual satisfaction.
So watching her can provide invaluable clues.
Exactly. If she's comfortable sharing that, it's like getting the user manual.
Following that is a tip on touching. Find her resilient edge of resistance. This is a concept borrowed from Barbara Carellis's Urban Tantra.
Okay, the resilient edge. What does that mean?
It's about touching deeply enough to meet a little bit of resistance from her body, but not so much that it becomes rigid or painful. The idea is that real, deep pleasure often lies right on this edge.
Interesting concept. How do you practically understand and find this edge?
Well, it sounds like a nuanced concept that highlights finding the right amount of pressure, intensity for optimal pleasure. It's presented as a feedback loop. You touch, you read the reaction, her body language, her sounds, her breathing, and you adjust accordingly.
Ah, so it's interactive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about exploring the boundaries of sensation without causing pain or discomfort, finding that sweet spot of intensity. We also get some thoughts on under the water, sex in the shower, pool, etc.
The classic movie scene.
Right, but it notes that while it might seem erotic, water can cause issues like penis shrinkage from cold water or washing away natural lubrication, causing vaginal dryness.
The practical realities.
Yeah, it's less sexy.
So alternatives like the bathtub with warm water and oils are suggested? Or even exploring self-pleasure with household water sources like a shower head?
What's the practical advice for those who are drawn to the idea of water in sex?
Well, this offers a practical perspective on a common fantasy, doesn't it? Acknowledging the potential downsides and suggesting maybe more comfortable and effective alternatives, like warm baths, which can still provide a sensual atmosphere without some of the physiological drawbacks. Or just being aware of the need for waterproof lube.
Then there's advice to need that viva.
Need,
Yeah.
like dough.
Maybe not quite. It's emphasizing the importance of foreplay around the entire vulva area, not immediately going just for the clitoris. Using words, gentle exploration.
The broader approach.
Why is this broader, gentler approach often more effective than direct stimulation right away?
Well, this reinforces the idea that arousal is often a gradual process for women, focusing on the broader sensual experience, warming up the whole area before direct clitoral stimulation can be highly effective.
Okay.
It allows for blood flow to increase, sensitivity to build, making the subsequent direct touch even more pleasurable, potentially. Don't just dive bomb the clit, basically.
Got it.
The book then delves into using your fingers, suggesting specific techniques like the 3-finger caress or something called the twist and shout.
Okay, getting technical.
It emphasizes that good hand skills can sometimes compensate for penis size concerns and that exploration and reading her responses are paramount. There's even a playful PS about nibbling toes or foot massaged as part of foreplay.
Right, using everything you've got.
What's the core message about the role of manual stimulation here?
Well, it provides some concrete examples of manual techniques, which might be helpful for some. But more importantly, it underscores the value of versatility, attentiveness to your partner's reactions.
Yeah.
It highlights that your hands can be incredibly effective tools for pleasure, regardless of other physical attributes. Skill and attention matter.
We also get a distinction between a positive quickie and a negative slam bam thank you ma'am in the section add variety to your quickie.
The quality quickie versus the bad one.
Exactly. It explores common locations, cars, closets, and positions beyond the standard bent-over scenario, like face-to-face standing or on a lap. How can we ensure a quickie is still enjoyable and respectful?
Well, this acknowledges the reality of quick sexual encounters, doesn't it? But emphasizes they can still be enjoyable, respectful, even connecting, with a little creativity and focus, even if it's brief.
So it's about the intention.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Mutual engagement, focus on pleasure, even for a short time, rather than just speed and checking a box.
Put her on top is recommended next, for her orgasm, for control,
Classic position.
with warnings against overusing it leading to boredom, and tips for variations like wide legs for deeper penetration or clenched legs to lessen pain if the man is large.
Practical tips.
What are the key benefits and considerations for this position?
Well, this position clearly offers women greater control over rhythm, angle, depth, which can be particularly beneficial for reaching orgasm for many. The advice on variations helps keep it interesting, and the caution against overuse is just a reminder to maintain variety in your sexual repertoire. Don't get stuck in a rut. Oh, and it mentions being careful about anal to vaginal transition without cleaning. Important hygiene note.
Very important. Then the rather direct, don't be anal about anal sex.
Okay. Addressing a common area of interest and anxiety.
It acknowledges sensitivities legal, cultural, frames it sometimes as an act of submission domination, offers practical advice on lubrication, female-controlled insertion being potentially better for beginners.
Control is key.
Notes it might be painful for novices but appealing to more experienced partners. What's the crucial advice for those considering exploring anal sex based on this?
Well, this section provides a pretty candid and informative perspective on anal sex. It addresses potential concerns, offers guidance. The key takeaways seem to be massive importance of communication, lots of lubrication, going very slowly, especially in the beginning, and always respecting individual comfort levels and boundaries. It's not for everyone, and definitely not for a first date or a surprise middle-of-the-night thing, it advises. It also mentions anal beads and how to use them.
Okay. We also get a description of the doubleheader.
Sounds intense. What is it?
Simultaneous oral and genital stimulation like 69, but maybe focused on achieving a simultaneous double orgasm.
Ah, okay. Coordinated effort. What's the core idea behind this technique?
Just highlighting the potential for multi-orgasmic experiences through stimulating different erogenous zones at the same time. Maximum input, maybe?
Yeah.
Then variation on missionary. The classic starting position, but how to modify it. It suggests telling her to clench her legs near orgasm as a potential trick for your pleasure.
Engaging the muscles.
Yeah.
What's the physiological basis for that suggestion?
It seems to be offering a subtle way to potentially increase friction or sensation. Maybe facilitate orgasm by engaging specific muscle groups during intercourse. A little tweak. Froggy style is also described. A variation of doggy style, but done on the floor with legs spread wide like a frog.
Okay, descriptive name. What's the potential benefit of this positional variation? Just provides another positional option, really. For those who enjoy rear entry, it potentially offers a different angle, maybe different depth of penetration compared to standard doggy style. Variety again.
The book encourages men to pleasure her with her own toys.
Addressing the vibrator insecurity issue.
Exactly.
Right.
It tackles male insecurity about vibrators, mentions the Kinsey report findings about vibrator effectiveness.
Right. They often work very well.
Advises men to learn to give equivalent orgasms with hands or mouth if they feel competitive, and even encourages men to use the toys on their partners. Buying new toys together is also suggested.
Good advice.
What's the core message about embracing sex toys in a partnership?
This just promotes a more open, inclusive approach to sex toys, doesn't it? Recognizing their potential to enhance pleasure, especially for women, and encouraging men to participate in their use rather than seeing them as competition.
Yeah.
It's about expanding the toolkit, the possibilities for shared pleasure. It's not you versus the toy, it's you and the toy working together for her pleasure.
In a section titled Condoms for Fun, there's an anecdotal observation about condom use maybe declining with age in monogamous couples.
Okay.
But the strong emphasis remains on using them with multiple partners, obviously. And a suggestion to be adventurous, try different types, textures, lubes, even when using condoms.
Right. Safe sex doesn't have to be boring sex.
What's the key takeaway about incorporating condoms into sexual activity?
Well, it offers a lighthearted yet responsible perspective, right? Encouraging both safety where needed and exploration, reminding us that using protection doesn't have to mean limiting pleasure or creativity. You can still have fun with condoms.
Prolong the play advises staying in foreplay mode longer. Leisurely exploring the body that think like a lesbian idea again.
Taking your time.
And using verbal affirmations, compliments, making her feel desired. What's the overall benefit of extending foreplay and incorporating verbal intimacy?
This just reinforces the importance of building arousal gradually, incorporating both physical and verbal intimacy. It's about savoring the whole sensual experience, not just rushing the main event, and making your partner feel desired, appreciated, beautiful. That's powerful foreplay in itself. It references a minister's wedding advice. Tell your wife she's pretty every day and always fight for her. That emotional connection fuels the physical.
Moving into getting kinky.
Okay, stepping it up.
The book suggests subtle ways to introduce fantasies in new relationships. Maybe just talking about them, writing them down, watching erotic movies together to see what sparks interest.
Gentle introduction.
It also mentions practicing verbal bondage, the power of words and voice tone, the importance of safe words.
Crucial for kink.
Although it notes that for some, the lack of a safe word, that feeling of total surrender, is part of the thrill, which is obviously very advanced and requires immense trust. There's even an anecdote about making love while bandaged and drugged after surgery.
Wow, okay, extreme example. What's the general advice for exploring more adventurous aspects of sexuality with a partner? Well, this section offers a range of ideas, from mild to pretty wild, for exploring more adventurous aspects of sexuality. But the recurring theme is the absolute importance of communication, consent, and safety. Start slowly, talk openly, establish clear boundaries and safe words if you're doing anything involving control or intensity.
The book even suggests to attend a sex-based event.
Like a swingers party.
Yeah, it provides guidance on finding swingers parties online, the typical registration process, etiquette like no means no, obviously, and the option to just watch without participating if you're just curious. Voyeurism.
Okay, practical info for the curious. What's the information being provided here for those who might be considering these kinds of experiences? It just offers practical information for those curious about exploring alternative sexual lifestyles in a social setting, outlining the logistics, what to expect, how to navigate it respectfully.
Using video is presented next. As a creative way to have fun, maybe filming yourselves for private viewing later,
What?
with a mention of the potential for harmless exhibitionism online, like sharing anonymous clips if that's your thing and done safely. What are the key considerations when thinking about incorporating video into intimate moments?
Well, this explores using technology to enhance sexual experiences, but it comes with a huge note of caution regarding privacy, consent, and the potential risks of sharing explicit content online, even anonymously. Think very carefully about security and trust.
Then expand the partnership to include a third party.
Threesomes, open relationships.
Discusses common scenarios for how this might come up. Men's typical reactions, jealousy, arousal, wanting to join in if it's two women.
Right. Complex dynamics.
And considerations before making it a permanent or regular thing. The strength of the primary relationship, the can I eat cake every day? Analogy meaning, does the novelty wear off? What's the core message for couples considering opening up their relationship?
This delves into the significant complexities of open relationships and threesomes. It emphasizes the need for extremely careful consideration, radical honesty, open communication, and a rock-solid foundation in the primary partnership before even thinking about it. It's definitely not something to enter into lightly or to fix existing problems.
There's even a section on participate in an orgy, with an anecdote from the author about hosting one and how it started somewhat spontaneously.
Okay, going all the way there. What's the perspective being shared?
Just offers a glimpse into a more extreme form of group sex, really, and one individual's personal experience with organizing and participating in one.
The host, the author, even shares personal experience with voyeurism, watching their own lovers have sex with other people.
Really? And how did they feel? Found unexpected arousal, apparently, and a stronger desire to connect with their partner afterwards. What personal insight is being offered here?
Well, it provides a very personal perspective on a less commonly discussed aspect of sexuality, finding arousal in watching your partner with someone else, and the complex emotional responses it can evoke, which might not always be jealousy.
Tickle her fancy suggests tickling as a common, simple form of foreplay.
Back to basics. What's the potential benefit of this simple act? Just a simple, often enjoyable way to build intimacy, laughter, and maybe light arousal through playful physical contact. Low-stakes fun.
Then the rather direct if golden showers are on your list.
Wow, okay. You're Alanya?
Exactly. It approaches the fantasy with caution and consent. Mentions examples in media where it appears, suggests a gradual approach if you want to introduce it, and acknowledges urolania, which, yes, for clarity, refers to sexual arousal from urination. What's the paramount advice when exploring less common, potentially taboo sexual interests like this?
This section addresses a specific and potentially taboo fetish, but the approach is key. Emphasis on respecting boundaries, proceeding only with enthusiastic consent, open communication, and maybe starting gradually, like maybe in the shower first. It's about safe exploration of even uncommon desires.
Personal experiences with foot fetishes are shared next. The author recounts an interview experience and her mother's horrified reaction. It challenges negative stereotypes and the shyness often surrounding this particular fetish.
Yeah, podophilia is quite common, relatively speaking.
What's the broader message about accepting diverse attractions?
This helps normalize a particular fetish, encourages open communication about individual preferences. It highlights that attractions can be incredibly varied and shouldn't necessarily be a source of shame or ridicule. Acceptance is key.
Sex during menstruation is discussed openly.
Still a taboo for some.
Experiences of lovers enjoying oral sex during menstruation are mentioned. The idea that some women feel extra horny during their period. Practical tips like using a diaphragm to block flow if desired, and encouragement for open communication.
Right. Just talk about it.
What's the key takeaway about intimacy during this time?
It addresses a topic that some might find uncomfortable and just encourages open communication and exploration, noting that for some individuals and couples, it can be a perfectly normal, even enhanced time for intimacy. It's about personal preference and comfort, not a universal no.
Then there's the surprisingly common practice, according to the book, of wearing her underwear among heterosexual men.
Really, heterosexual men, why?
The reason given is simply that it keeps them feeling horny, connected to their partner's sensuality, perhaps. It also mentions the often negative reactions from partners or friends if discovered.
Huh. Interesting. What does this reveal about the diverse ways individuals experience arousal? Well, it offers an unusual glimpse into male psychology, maybe, and the diverse, sometimes hidden ways individuals experience arousal, even if those ways might seem unconventional or confusing to others, shows you can't assume anything.
The amateur list and gradual exploration are emphasized next, for introducing new or kinky things.
Starting small.
Yeah. The need for patience. Examples of experiences on the amateur list might include light bondage, spanking, maybe dirty talk, using conversation and questions to understand boundaries and experience levels before trying things. There are lists of questions provided, some tame, some more not so faint of heart, to stimulate discussion.
So structured communication.
What's the recommended approach for venturing into new sexual territory with a partner?
This just stresses the importance of patience, communication, respect when exploring new sexual territory. Start with lower risk activities, build trust, build comfort levels gradually, talk. Check in constantly, play at the edge of passion, as it says, but always respect the boundaries.
The book also includes a list of books and films for erotic conversation, from classics like The Country Wife to more contemporary works like The Sexual Life of Catherine M.
Using media as a prompt again.
Yeah, noting that books stimulate the brain clit differently than movies. What's the value of using media to spark discussions about sex?
It just provides concrete resources for sparking discussion, exploring sexual themes, desires, boundaries with a partner in a potentially less direct, maybe less intimidating way than just saying, hey, what about?
Tools and toys for kinky exploration are listed next. From common items like scarves or feathers to more specialized things like paddles or clamps. There's a tip using silk scarves or stockings for gentle touch, and then tying them around the base of the penis during woman on top for extra clitoral stimulation.
Creative use of props. What's the underlying message about experimentation with sex toys and tools? It just offers practical ideas for potentially enhancing sexual experiences through using various items, encouraging a sense of adventure, creativity, exploration, using what's around, or investing in specific tools if you're both into it.
A list of role-play ideas is provided too. Doctor-nurse, teacher-student, strangers meeting.
Mixmasics.
Emphasizing choosing roles both partners genuinely enjoy. What's the key to successful role-playing based on this?
Well, it offers concrete suggestions for engaging in imaginative play. But the crucial element, underlined again, is mutual enjoyment and enthusiastic participation from both partners. It doesn't work if one person isn't into the role.
And finally, the epilogue summary reiterates that lasting sexual satisfaction goes way beyond just tricks or techniques.
Back to the big picture.
It focuses on making room for sex in your life, prioritizing it, respecting it, staying excited about it. The goal is building a deep, sensual relationship for years of mind-blowing sex. It also invites feedback via a website.
Right. This brings us back to the central theme running through a lot of this, despite the sometimes provocative details. The truly fulfilling sex is an ongoing process. It's about connection, communication, mutual respect, ongoing effort.
So what does this all mean, this deep dive into a rather explicit guide? It actually reveals some surprisingly insightful, maybe nuanced perspectives on achieving great sex.
Yeah, amongst the more attention-grabbing stuff.
It's clearly not just about the physical act. It's deeply intertwined with understanding your partner, with communication, playfulness, and a really consistent focus on their multifaceted experience of pleasure, both physical and emotional, mental too.
Exactly. It encourages you, the listener, to reflect on these ideas. Consider which ones might resonate in your own relationships or just your understanding of intimacy. It definitely challenges some assumptions and offers a really wide range of approaches, from the very practical to the much more adventurous.
And that brings us to our final provocative thought for you to consider. Beyond all the specific techniques and tips, how can a genuinely deeper understanding of your partner's unique desires, their boundaries, their heart clit and brain clit, How can that truly transform your shared experiences? What unforgettable memory will you strive to create?
Something to think about. We encourage you to keep exploring, keep the conversation going, safely and respectfully, of course.